So tonight I want to talk about how do you build courage to speak up in networking events, at work when you're at a meeting, or if you're in a job interview. How do you really advocate for yourself? Even at home with a spouse or your family, how do you say what you need? And when you're asked to go speak at a conference and you feel like you're not an expert or you're not the person who should be giving that talk, how do you say yes anyway? It's a really big deal, especially for women. A lot of women feel like, I have no business standing in front of a room because I've only been doing this for 1 year, or there are people here who know more than me. But the fact of the matter is we all have our own perspective, our own ideas, our own creativity, and our own energy, and we all have a reason to be standing in front of a room and talking. So we should never take that away from ourselves, because that connection is what helps to build new experiences, new ideas, new inventions, new businesses, new development. So we should never stop ourselves from that. So tonight we're going to talk about the mind, which is the verbal piece and kind of putting yourself in the right frame of mind. The second is the body. How do we prepare our bodies so that we're not like standing in front of a group and like, no, I'm fine. This is how I always stand. And then the third part is the spirit, like your energy. How do you bring the right energy to a conversation or a presentation so that when people see you, they feel engaged and they want to hear more? Has anyone ever watched a really boring conversation or presentation? Yeah. What was that person doing? Maybe were they were not moving? Yeah. Monotone. Yeah, no energy. So some people are excited about their subject, but they're not connected to it, so they can't actually transfer that energy to the audience. So I'm going to teach you how to do that tonight, so that no matter what topic you're speaking about, you can always bring love and energy to it, and it'll get your audience excited about it too. Does that sound good? Yeah. Okay, cool. Just making sure. Because I can go. So the first thing I want to start with is reframing. And I gave you all a handout. And at the top of it, there are these 4 boxes that say 4 reframes. And if you want to take notes, you can write them in there. By the way, I'm always asked the question, is it okay to drink water when you're giving a speech? And the answer is yes, because you're a person. People always want to be robots up here. You don't have to be a robot. So the first thing I want to reframe for you, because we're going to start with the mind part of the mind, body, spirit, is public speaking itself. When you think of public speaking, what do you think of? Does anything come to mind, or does your mind just go completely blank and you're like passed out? Yeah.
I think about like that person being an expert, which is like a scary element to me, because like you said earlier, we don't feel like we are the expert or have all the knowledge, so I see them as the expert.
Okay, so public speaking means being an expert. What else? Yeah. Educating, yep. Anything else? Yeah.
Don't fumble when you're in your bed.
Don't fumble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought of a PowerPoint presentation.
PowerPoint, yeah.
A lot of people use PowerPoint.
Yeah, PowerPoints definitely go hand in hand with public speaking. Erin, did you have a?
I was going to say like TED Talks, like stuff that's really exciting and the speakers are really dynamic and interesting.
Yeah. So does it feel like a lot of pressure? Yeah. You immediately kind of feel like, wow, someone just placed that elephant on my shoulders. Great, thank you. I'm looking forward to this. Well, what if we could change the way that we think about public speaking so it doesn't feel like pressure? Does anyone do volunteer work or community service? Yeah. Why do you do that?
Feels good.
It feels good?
Gives back.
It gives back.
It's fun.
It's fun. So what if public speaking could feel like that? I know, we're skeptical. But let's say that public speaking is actually being in service to others. It's not about being an expert. It's not about being perfect. It's not about not fumbling up on stage. It's just about being in service to the people who are sitting in front of you. Does that feel a little easier? And you don't have to be an expert to be a public speaker. You have to be one step ahead of the people you're talking to. Just one, not 500, just one. Because that one step is the thing that is the value that you can give to your audience. So if you can reframe public speaking as being in service to others, it helps to make the whole experience more about connecting and not being that person who's like the entertainer, I'm the educator, I'm the inspirer, I'm the motivator. It's like, that's a lot of pressure. When I started thinking about, like, I have to entertain these people, I freak out. It's not a good place to come from. Instead, I think, how can I help them? How can I be in service to them? And that feels much better. So the second thing to reframe is a subject that goes hand in hand with public speaking, even more than PowerPoint. It's fear. Does anyone know what number public speaking falls on the list of fears? 1. Right above death. Isn't that crazy? Like, people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. It's like, it doesn't have to be like that. So I want to talk about fear for a second, because that fear is actually really natural and normal to feel, because it's part of our evolution. Back when we were like millions of years ago, when we had to actually like be together in order to survive, not being eaten by a hairy animal in the woods, being together was what helped us to stay, surviving. And whenever we'd separate ourselves from the pack, we're now out in the open, and there's a much greater chance we're going to become dinner. Because now that predator comes and sees us and we're small and by ourselves and thinks, oh, I could eat that, right? And this is crazy, because it's like, this is not part of today's day and age, but that part of our brain still exists in us. It's the amygdala, it's the oldest part of our brain. And it's the thing that's activated every time we hear the words public speaking, because it separates us from the group. And our brain thinks fight or flight, stress, 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 get back with the group, you need to survive. But luckily for us, this is no longer a real danger. And I know this because, as I mentioned earlier, I've given over 700 talks and I've never once been eaten. Like, not even a bite on my ankle, like nothing. And all my friends who are public speakers also have never been eaten. So I'm going to teach you how to deal with the fear, because we have this terminology in our world about fear. Like, you need to punch fear in the face, and you have to like overcome your fear and like smash your fear. And it's like, that's not actually possible. It's still in there. It's actually there to keep you safe. So why don't we, instead of trying to crush it, we befriend it. And we invite fear to our talks and to our any kind of speaking opportunity, and we just recognize fear is always going to be there. So let's stop having this adversarial relationship with it, instead be friends with it. Hey fear, we're going to go give this talk. It's going to be great. And instead of you being the boss, fear, I'm going to be the boss, and I'm going to give you something else to do. So I've named my fear Frank, and Frank loves video games, So I got him an Xbox for Christmas, the latest one, and I set him up with an Xbox off to the side for like an hour, and he's just like playing a karate game. He's fine. And then it gives me the space to then go and do the things that are scary, because he's preoccupied. And a friend of mine who's a writer, you can imagine, she deals with her fear every day, because she sits down at her computer to write and immediately thinks, I'm not a writer. What do I think I'm doing? Why are people paying me for this? This is crazy. I have nothing to say. And so she realizes, oh, my fear is running the show right now. Let me get in charge and babysit that fear. And she's decided that her fear is actually a baby, because it comes up at random times that don't seem like fear is actually an issue. And she like pretends to have a baby in her hands, turns around, puts the baby in a car seat, a fake car seat, buckles it in, puts on a DVD, like she's in the car, and she's like, okay, you're gonna watch Toy Story for the next 2 hours, so now I can write. And this seems like kind of a weird thing to do, but it works really well, because it helps you to realize, no, I'm in control of my fear. My fear is not in control of me. And we are friends, and we're going to work this out, but I'm the boss. And when you could be the boss of your fear, you're unstoppable, because nothing ever stands in your way. You're not afraid of asking that person on a date. You're not afraid of asking for a promotion. You're not afraid of asking for more money from your client. You're in control. I'm going to go do that, because I can, and I will.